XRP has been going absolutely crazy over the past few weeks. And I'd say one of the most requested topics was exactly how to cash out. How much should you be cashing out? At which price? What is a proper exit strategy? And so today, I think it's time to give you guys a little thought as to what I think is a proper cash out strategy. Not necessarily to maximize gains, because to do that, I'd say you just have to be lucky and just get the right timing to sell everything and buy back cheaper if you want to still hold forever, or just find the right timing to sell at the highest point, which most people cannot do. What we are optimizing for is partially to minimize regret. Second of all, a very high probability of cashing out at the right prices. And third of all, an easy strategy. Because at the end of the day, we're all different. Some person might want to sell everything the moment he gets $1 million. Another person doesn't want to sell for less than $100 million. Another person is happy to have made $20. Everybody's different, so let's talk about some general strategies that I think might work for most people. Step number one, figure out where you think your price is going to go. For example, when it comes to XRP, how high do you think it will go this season? If you yourself have got no idea, don't worry. Then perhaps start thinking about when you think things will top out. If you want my thoughts and mine, let me tell you. I personally think the highest point for Bitcoin is going to be between June or July and November of 2025. And the highest point for XRP, for example, will probably be about a month after that. So I'm going to say between July and maybe January or so of 2026. Because that's basically how it happened throughout the last couple of cycles. And for that reason, I think it will probably repeat again, but we may be wrong. The reason I said at the start that it makes a big difference what your price prediction is because, well, as I said just now, you may be wrong. At what price per XRP or maybe per Bitcoin, whatever, are you already satisfied? Do you want to wait for this highest point again, or are you actually already satisfied halfway along the way? Because again, it would change whether or not you can take more risk to sell, for example, more in July versus, for example, starting to sell the 1st of January. What I've always said is the course of action, I set this to myself in 2022. What I'm going to do is I'm going to start cashing out from January 1st, 2025, 1% of my remaining balance every single day. I'm shifting because I keep thinking, man, it's probably going to be that the top is going to hit later. So I should actually maybe cash out once a week starting, for example, April or so of 2025. Because again, my honest highest point is between June and November, for Bitcoin at least, and so 1 month off or so for coins like XRP. But I'm also being very open honest with you. We may be a couple months off. I mean, here we got debated as well with Bitcoin with the crazy gains in April rather than the expected November. You know, about half a year off, but that could also mean a 70% price difference or so in that span. So if I had started selling, for example, 3 months before this April mark, so for example here in January, yes, the price would have gone from 20 to 70,000, sure. But if I started a little bit, into January, it could be that my average price would have been between the 40 and about 64 right there. Let's just say it's about 50 something, right? Over that span of time, which could have been significantly higher than if I just panicked and sold everything at 30,000 a couple weeks after that top was hit, because the price came down 50%. And maybe at that point, I would have started panicking. So by that notion, to stop yourself from panicking, it's not a stupid idea to just think about it from in this case here, right? From now to about 12 months from now, span. To think, we don't know exactly where the end will be. It could be between now and the next 13 months. If I do not know, is it not wise to just cash out periodically instead of per target? Because again, if you have a price prediction, which is why I said at the start of the video, hey, if you have that, you could kind of skip this part. Then what the best course of action is, if you've got a certain price that you're building towards that you think will get hit, you basically cash out along that journey. So for example, for me, the most important targets were $2 in XRP, which we basically just hit today. I cashed out a chunk right there. So I'm satisfied. If XRP drops back to $1.30 or whatever, I'm very, very happy. Then another chunk I cash out, for example, at $2.77, because that's the previous highest monthly, I think actually previous highest weekly close, right? $2.77. Or I cash it at the all-time high at, let's say, $3.50. Just chunks, not a full portfolio, a few percent. maybe 10%, maybe 15% of my remaining portfolio, just so I'm satisfied and taking some profits. So in case we fall back down, at least I feel good. After that, there's really not that much of a target. I would stick more towards psychological barriers. For example, the $5 mark is an interesting one. Then, for example, double the all-time high, so closer towards $6 is an interesting one. And from there on forward, again, another one at $7.50 and $10. But most importantly, the $10 mark, because there's really not that much in the midst here. Some people might put up these Fibonacci numbers, but honestly, I think the psychological barriers are way more interesting when it comes to XRP holders, because a lot of people will just think about it from a $5, $3, $2. Like we saw just now, we got rejected at $2 multiple times back in 2021 and 2017 because it's a major psychological barrier. And with XRP, it's a lot of that type of, I would say, retail type of people who care more about psychological numbers like that. Anyway, so there the idea would be, don't care too much about the timing, except for the idea that by, let's just say, February 2026, we'll definitely have want to sold out the majority of our coins. Why, you might ask? It's because we all know that another bear market is going to hit, where even though they might not go back to the prices that they once were, XRP might never go back to 30 cents that it was a few months ago, or 50 cents, whatever. It might only come back to $1, but we do know that it's going to come down significantly from the high point, which it's at, because it always does that. It doesn't make sense for it to always continue on up and up and up. There have to be corrections. And I do believe XRP also will correct by at least 70% somewhere. So generally speaking, it is wiser to sell than to hold on forever, unless you've got some long ass breath. But then again, if you don't care about selling in the next 5 years, then why even look at a exit strategy video? It doesn't really matter. Anyway, so to get back to it, I have another theory, which is to purely base it on the XRP to Bitcoin chart. For example, back in the past, XRP was half of Bitcoin's market cap. And from that perspective, if we were to be able to get back to those levels, and Bitcoin just stays where it is right now, that would place it at $1 trillion worth of market cap almost, so about a 10x. But if Bitcoin doubles, goes to $200,000, and XRP still 10x's, it will be about 1/4. If Bitcoin goes to 300,000, XRP were to still get to that same level. Once more, 1 trillion with Bitcoin at 6 trillion. 1/6 of Bitcoin's value, definitely not too crazy. So if that is our expected value at the end somewhere, we could try time for it. And obviously, since we are not sure it's going to hit it, we have to think, hey, you know what? Every path along that journey. So let's say, for example, we have an expectation of $10 per XRP. In that case, $20 per XRP. Well, we've not really hit any of our initial prices, but we could just be like, you know what? Just to put some numbers in here, let's just say we take the move. It's not perfect. It's just to give you an idea, right? That we saw from the lowest point to the highest point back in 2017. And we just start taking profits periodically. For example, at $4.20, we cash some out, right? At $5.37, we cash some out. At $8, we cash some, or let's just say, one of these two, we cash some out. Then at $12 again, then at $14 again, and then we leave the rest to ride for the $19 or even more. How much percent? Well, it depends on you. Are you comfortable with leaving everything to the highest tier? Then cash out lower. Are you more thinking, nah, you know what? I want certainty over the highest price. We cash out more at these lower prices. I personally still stick with whatever I just said at the start, right? Which is I'm going to start looking at 2025, how the market's looking, and we'll probably cash out 1% of my portfolio a day. That is the remaining portfolio. Then again, this might kind of skip a bit, meaning I might only start with that from March 1st, for example. But a moment I realize, we're getting to some higher territories, it does not mean I think the bull market is going to end there. It just means since I do not know where from here it's going to end, it could be 3 weeks, it could be 6 months, I'm going to start selling something. So that, again, if I look back at it, on average, if we look back at this, if I started selling, for example, right here, right, as I just said, at one of these points in January at $40,000, and I started cashing out over the next few months from January all the way to November, because maybe I would have gotten that much time, right? If you sell 1% of your remaining portfolio every single day, and you sell it back to stablecoins, sell it back to fiat, at some point you'll be sure to hit the top, because usually this whole crazy of a run, right? The crazy part of it, the most parabolic part for alts and for BTC lasts about a year. Now, there's a good chance that already started and that the year is now almost over because the bull run is about 3 years long in total. So let's just say it ends about there. And then 1 year of bear market. So 1 year of about downwards, right? It happens every single time. It goes 1 year down and then 3 years back of up. Since we've already had about 2 years of up right now, it is most logical that about 1 more year of bull is going to come, but it could be cut short, or rather, even if the bull market lasts as long as we expect it to. You have to understand this. Maybe your coin will hit its peak value a lot earlier than another coin. Maybe it's time where you cash out one coin because you've done so well that you now have found a new opportunity somewhere else to put money back into. Otherwise, you're always stuck holding your coins. So whenever I say cashing out, me personally, I'm talking about stable coining up. But to be honest with you, whenever I have stable coins, I use it for new opportunities, which just basically means you're getting a little bit of free cash flow again to go for some crazier opportunities that you might still be able to benefit from until the season is over, which again, we expect to be somewhere around January. So a common question that I might get asked is, so why not sell everything in January? Well, simple answer is because you don't know if the end is going to be September or January. So another question would be, why start at the beginning of 2025 with cashing out? Why not at the end? And the simple answer is you could start later, but once more, you do not know if this time around Bitcoin will top rather quickly. For example, here, December is going to be the highest top and then have a so for example, right, look like this. Massive top, then crash for like 4 months in a row before going even higher. This could be a thing. So then, at least in this part that we were cashing out, this could have been some crazy terms of profit, but it could actually also be that, for example, it looks like this, where the March area is crazy high, right? And you started selling a little bit earlier, and then from there, it's only down. So by the time you get to July, Bitcoin basically never hovers high anymore. Some alts may be still going, but again, the season hit earlier than we expected, and by the time July hits, everything is already over. So if we waited, because I said, if we expect peak to be July, the later we start, the more of a risk we have that we haven't sold everything at the time. And so if you have price predictions and price expectations or price targets, it's a lot easier. Because if you say, for example, hey, the moment it hits 200,000, I'm going to cash out so much. The moment it hits 320,000, I'm going to cash out so much. The timing doesn't matter that much. But if you have no idea about when, it's always better to kind of be early with it all, because at least then you won't miss it. So again, to put it into perspective, if I've got no idea when, right, and I just want to sell at a random spot or just start at a random spot, when is that going to be? I might be too late. The top might have already been hit. But if I start slightly earlier, at least I know that I'll be certain to also be cashing out at the top. And if I just sell 1% of my daily balance, maybe you can actually start with lower than 1% at the start. And so is this a foolproof strategy? The simple answer is no, but there's literally no perfect one. And so the question of how to cash out, but I'll talk about that a different day, as any exchange will really work that you've got access to. But reality, if you've cashed out such a good chunk to stables and you don't know what to do with it, I kind of feel as if that's a really, really good problem to have. The more important part is actually getting stabled up. The easier part is how to get it back to a bank. Ultimately, if you cash out a frick ton, you don't need to get it to your bank, but you'll figure that out as time goes on, right? The moment you've got all your money, you'll figure that part out, how to get it into the bank. More important part is actually getting to that money. And as I always say, you don't want to be the guy who sold way too early, sure, but it's so much better to sell a little bit earlier and keep selling than selling too late when you've already round-tripped all that money and it only keeps going down. Once more, this back here, right? It felt like Bitcoin topped. So the next few months, people all thought they missed the top. They all thought, oh no, you see, Bitcoin's going to go down from here, blah, 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 blah. Now, generally speaking, that's how you feel when prices start plummeting by, let's quickly check for fun, roughly 60% or so. You feel really, really bad. If you started cashing out here though, yes, you might have thought to yourself, oh, I should have started way later with cashing out once you are 3 months in. But when things start falling, you feel really, really good that you at least got a big chunk of your cash outs at this highest price. And so for that reason, I always say it's best to just cash out over a longer period of time and just stick to strategy that you've thought of before. Meaning you think of a strategy right now, right? These weeks, and you follow that because otherwise things go wrong. What I see with most of my friends is they keep thinking, you know what? I'm going to extend it. I'm going to actually wait till later. And you know what happens, guys? Eventually they're like, I'm going to wait. And eventually you miss the top. You round trip your money. I've seen so many people get tens of millions of dollars and then run it back to it's still pretty good, but still back to a few $1 million. They fumble it all. You'll see many of the stories on Twitter in about a year and a half. You'll see so many people who fumbled life-changing amounts of money because they did not know when to cash out. So in my opinion, what I just described to you is what a very good friend of mine told me. Cash out 1% a day of your remaining balance starting 2025. If you're a couple weeks in, for example, I don't think that's too bad, but it's just about a general idea. You can play around with the numbers a little bit. If you want really more specifically exactly what I'm doing, just stick around, watch the videos because I'll be telling you. But when it comes to these positions, for example, that we got on Blofin, right, or on Bybit, I just cash out whenever I kind of feel like it. I cash out chunks. Why? Because I kind of believe it's going to go way higher and I don't feel that comfortable selling it yet. But on the opposite side, I also know these I could just sell off right now. I could sell off everything right now and not feel anything because I've still got my spot bags. And when do I want to cash out? I'm not going to let my feelings dictate that. I'm going to start cashing out in 2025 regardless of what the price is at. And I'll keep, of course, a big chunk for like just forever because I'm not really comfortable selling Bitcoin. I'd prefer to keep it even if it goes down 90%. I kind of don't care. But with some of my other coins, especially the non-fundamental ones that are not at the top of the top, a lot of them will be sold off and I might buy them back cheaper. I might just buy them next season. But so yeah, that's one of the main reasons I always like to keep these positions open and why we open the trade on Blofin together, by the way. It's because I keep thinking, man, it's so much easier to just cash out on some of these positions, especially if you have larger ones, which we don't have on here, but hey, because then you can just shave off of those and cash in all your money while your spot bags stay. And it kind of is a little bit of a, it's not a literal hedge because obviously they're not shorts to hedge against your spot bags, but it's like a, well, if these do well, you can shave off. You can keep selling without it really hurting your coins because you're playing with dollars here anyway, and you don't have to touch your amount of coins. I also say, man, if you're cashing out properly, right, and eventually you have a lot of stablecoin, you can actually go do some different strategies with those as well to earn more money on your yield if you feel bad or something that you are now stabled up, etc. But a lot of this will come to you as time progresses. I just wanted to give you guys some idea as to a cashing out strategy. This is not perfect. If you guys want more details, I can. It's just to give you guys some concept of what I'm thinking, right? And yeah, if you've got questions, let me know down below. If there's enough questions asked, I'll probably make another video about it. But yeah, make sure you press the like button if you enjoyed it. Put that notification bell on if you want more future video updates. And that's about it.